This is Stuart Maconie, 97 to 99 FM Radio 1. That was The Last Thing You Should Do from the new David Bowie album, Earthling. And I'm delighted to say that the man himself is live on the line from New York now. I ought to say, David, a belated happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm sure you're aware that you share your birthday with Elvis Presley, but were you equally aware that you share...
I didn't know that.
Why,
that's incredible.
You, to make me feel better, you feign astonishment. But did you know that you also share a birthday with Shirley Bassey?
Oh, that's even better. We've got a lot more in common. What I mean by that is that we're both Brits.
You seem particularly excited and buoyant about Earthling. Is that the way you are generally? Is the most recent thing you've done always very special to you, or is there particular significance to Earthling?
I'm feeling particularly Ken Doddish at the moment. Everything's tickling me. I think, I guess that I'm really excited in a constructive way at the moment, in as much that whatever I'm recording at the moment, I'm so keen to get on the road as fast as possible. I mean, we've started working out the schedule already for this year's tour, and we start rehearsals in April. And as of May, we're working right through Christmas on the road. Mm-hmm. A lot of festivals, both in America and in Europe. And we're going to squeeze in some rave things as well.
You seem to, yes.
Really excited about.
I was just going to say, you seem particularly excited about the festivals and rave situations. What is it about that kind of circumstance for performing that you enjoy?
I think more than anything else, it's the rhythm that gets me, you see. It's the rhythm. Young people being rhythmic is a real turn-on. Actually, old people being rhythmic is another situation, but I don't want to explore that at the moment. It's different dance styles have always been fairly central to the way that I write. And like when I first came over to America, I got totally immersed in the Philly sound and what was then the kind of the embryonic soul sound, which later became discotheque. It's the underpinning of any really good popular music, I think, is the style of the rhythm at any particular time. It also takes a very good... For me, drum and bass pretty much is such a great social music. It has a feeling of community to it. It also is it's pretty descriptive of the way we live. There's a kind of, on the bottom end, you get the pulse of humanity, and on the top end, with the speeded up drums, you get the whole feeling of the fractured, fragmentic side of it. So you've got chaos working along with the pulse, and it's kind of pretty much a great dialogue with society. Apart from that, it's cool.
Of course. How did Madison Square Gardens go?
Oh, it's wonderful. Tim Pope, who is you probably know him best for being the director of most of the Cure's videos. Tim filmed the show, and he's assembling it right as we talk. And hopefully that will be on the air very soon, and you'll be able to see it for what it was. It was absolutely fantastic. I think it's one of the more exciting events I've ever been at, either one of mine or anybody else's. It was a great show.
Stay with us, David. We'll talk a little later on in the show. Here's a particular favourite of mine from your new album, Earthling, reflecting that influence in drum and bass. This is David Bowie and Battle for Britain. The first cut section of the show, David, is artists choosing albums that had particular significance on your impact on your music. Is there a particular album or track that has a significance like that for you?
Yeah, there are probably two albums and album cuts that were incredibly influential on me. A friend of mine came back from America with a piece of plastic given to him by Andy Warhol, who said that this was a band he was producing, and did he think he could find a home for it in Britain on a record label. And it was, I still have it to this day, a piece of vinyl signed Andy Warhol in the middle on a bit of white paper. And it's the Banana Skin Velvet Underground album. And when I heard Waiting for the Man, I just thought, this is everything that rock should be. This is great. It's got the cryptic, ironic anger of Dylan, but it's also got a real nihilistic sound. And it just turned my head around about the potential of pop music. Another one was, you're probably quite aware that Ziggy Stardust was based on the life of a guy called Vince Taylor, an American. Mm-hmm. Well, the name Ziggy Stardust partially came from a character called the legendary Stardust Cowboy, who was an artist on my record label at that time called Mercury Records. And he put out 2 singles One was called Paralyzed, and one was called I Took a Trip on a Gemini Spacecraft. It was the most anarchistic, nihilistic stuff you've ever heard in your life. This guy was a country singer who only worked with his guitar, a drummer, and a one-legged trumpet player. And it was so alien. It was, I guess it would be called outside music now. But if you can find a copy of I Took a Trip on a Gemini Spacecraft, it is something to leave to your family.
Records are of particular significance to my guest tonight, David Bowie. This, of course, Waiting for My Man, Velvet Underground and Nico, from the album Velvet Underground and Nico. And prior to that, well, David wanted it in its incarnation that he remembers, which is I Took a Trip on a Gemini Spacecraft. But even the BBC Grams Library, the finest sound archive on earth, the TM, couldn't manage that. We had to get it in a re-recording from 1979. The legendary Stardust Cowboy, the man who partly inspired Ziggy Stardust, David was just saying, and I Took a Trip on a space shuttle in that incarnation. More of David Bowie in just a little while. Bowie in New York. And David, we all know that, as Earthling demonstrates, you keep a keen interest in what's afoot in rock and pop and dance. Is there a current artist who particularly interests you at the moment?
Current buns. I have a strong interest in current buns.
Is there a particular new artist that you admire? Could you select a track, a modern track that's particularly excited you?
Well, talking about current buns, there's a little band called Placebo who have been supporting our band in a lot of gigs throughout Europe, and most recently at the Garden Show. I think Brian, is the lead singer and writer of the band, is a very talented kid. They haven't reached their full potential yet. I would imagine it should start on the second or third album. But there's one song at the moment, and you must get the new mix on this, Stu, because Brian just played it for me. It's brilliant. Don't go back to the first album to get the mix. This is an aside, all right?
Right.
But the new mix that he's got of a song called Nancy Boy, I think is a scorcher. I think it's a great piece of writing and really shows the band's potential.
David, we all remember the Pin-Ups album from 1973, a particular favourite of many people. Is there a record, maybe not on the Pin-Ups album, but is there a record, a cover version of yours that you have a particular affection for, or one that's got a particular significance, you think, in your career?
I do have an affection for most of the things that I did on the first Pin-Ups album. I've always kind of been slightly tempted to do a follow-up to it, but I've never actually gotten around to doing it. But on the other hand, I think recently a cover that I did that I liked very much indeed was somebody who I respect more than probably any other working artist, Scott Walker. And I did a cover of one of his songs called Night Flight. And that's on the Black Tie, White Noise album. I
have it right here in my hand, and we'll hear your version of that great Scott Walker song in just a moment. But thank you very much for joining me, David.
Oh, not at all. I've enjoyed it.